Let's say you go to a store and you find something you really like, and everything that's labeled on it sounds just right. But then when you go home and you open and you see that it doesn't quite contain what you wanted it to contain, you'd be quite disappointed. And as Christians, we are Christians, and we want to ensure that we contain what our label means. And God has given us the power to do that. Pastor Layton is examining the professed faith as he speaks about this label that you wear.
Solid Rock welcomes you.
This morning, I'm going to be preaching at you, and if we're lucky, you will be blessed. And if you're not so lucky, you will still be blessed because God is the author, and I'm just standing in. I will direct your attention to the monitor. When you look at that, what do you think of? A Benz. And what else comes to mind? Rich, luxury, quality, hers. All of these things are logos. They are labels that manufacturers put on their products. When you see the label, it brings to your mind certain things, certain connotations are associated with a label. And these connotations set an expectation of what you expect from the product. When you see Pepsi on a product, you don't expect to be driving it, right? Similarly, when you see the Benz symbol on a product, you don't expect to be drinking it. When you see the Coca-Cola symbol on a product, you expect it to be brown, have a lot of caramel and sugar, and taste a particular way. And you expect every time you see the logo on the bottle that whenever you open the bottle, it's going to be brown, caramelized, and taste the same way. Each label sets an expectation about the product that the label entails. So from the manufacturer's point of view, a label is a symbol which encapsulates a certain set of attributes and characteristics that the manufacturer wants to communicate to you about the product, right? How well they do it depends on the product that they actually put out. So once they've put the product out, the other connotations that come with the product depends on the quality and workmanship, etc., of the product. So we know that even though the Mercedes-Benz label is put up by the manufacturer, the reputation comes from the fact that each Benz is expensive, is well engineered, will very likely not break down with you, will be expensive to repair and maintain. But also, in addition to that, when you drive one of those things, people will think that you're a somebody, that you have money, that you're an influencer and an influential person, and so on. So the label that you wear, the label that these manufacturers put on, means something about the product. Now, oops. Now, when you look at a particular product, like a vehicle, for example, one of the things that you will notice is that pretty much every single vehicle is made from the same material, right? Everybody uses steel or some kind of metal to make the body or frame, except for those that use anodized aluminum because they are space-age people, and those that use plastics because they are cheap people. But pretty much it's the same material that goes into making each vehicle, regardless of what the badge is, right? There's the engine made of some kind of metal, there's interior made of some kind of leather or faux leather or just plastic, right? Then there's all engineering that goes into the various pieces, etc., etc. Every single car has those same materials. But what makes the difference? The difference comes in the way each particular manufacturer adds in additional things into the product, right? So their processes are different, and let me use something that I'm more familiar with. When you buy KFC, there's a Colonel secret recipe, but it still uses chicken. And when I make chicken and I use my secret recipe, nobody but me eats it, but it's still chicken. Which is why you won't see my brand out on the market. I want you to hold on to that thought. Hold on to the thought that the manufacturer puts a label on, the label communicates certain attributes about the product, and people have an expectation about the product. Each product uses the same material. What makes the difference is what the process that manufacturer puts in, and the various other pieces which distinguish the one product from another. Another thing, wherever you go in the world, when you see a KFC, whether you're in Jamaica, where I came from, or Canada, where I now reside, every time I go into a KFC, I expect the same things. So you expect to get chicken because it's KFC. You expect to have the spicy chicken, you expect to have the barbecue chicken, you expect to get the little bun thing that I don't know what it tastes like, but wherever I go, it tastes the same way. The biscuit, that's it, the biscuits, that's what it is. You expect to get the biscuits and so on. Culture, ethnicity, location, language, none of these things change the fact that when you go into a KFC, you're going to get spicy chicken, breaded chicken, and the biscuit, which taste the same. So there are some things that will be the same for a given brand, regardless of where you find the brand. Doesn't matter where you find the brand. Some things are going to be the same. Some things are going to be slightly different. Some things are going to be packaged differently just because of culture and ethnicity, but the core underlying product is going to be the same regardless of where you are. One final thing to hold on to. I'll use an example. Okay, can I borrow your computer? Thank you. This laptop is confused. There's a label that the manufacturer put on, which stands for something, including good engineering. But there's a label that someone else stuck on, which stands for the aspirations of that one's children. Labels can be applied and misapplied. Sometimes the labels that appear on things have no representation to the actual manufacturer of the things. Thank you, Brother Keyless. Embarrassing. Allow me to embarrass you. Let me give you another label. Christian. What does that label mean? What's that label supposed to mean? It's supposed to mean, at its basic core, someone who represents Jesus and follows Christ in their approach and to life. It's supposed to mean someone who at their core is moral, reliable, dependable, truthful, etc. Okay? Now, just as with manufactured goods, the truth of the label comes from what the manufacturer puts inside. So if you're going to wear, well, let me just back up one time. So unlike a vehicle where the manufacturer puts on a label like this, which is a very important label, like Christian or some other religious label, it's a self-describing label. People put this label on themselves. I don't walk around and then say whatever. If you want to know if I'm a Christian, I'm probably going to be telling you. Like 90% of the times, that's the way it works. Right? You tell people that you're a Christian. You behave in a certain way. People think you're a stranger and they say, what are you doing that for? You say, because I'm a Christian. And you say, oh. Usually, hopefully, it's in a good way. So this is a self-describing label. Now, let's go back. The label that you wear sets an expectation about the quality, about the nature of the manufacturer. So when you say you're a Christian, there are certain expectations that people have about who you are. First of all, they expect that your manufacturer is God. They expect that you've had an experience and that you're born again in the family of God and now you walk in newness of life. They expect that because you identify as a Christian that you have actually been changed. They expect that they'll be able to find some difference in you because of your profession, because you're a Christian, as opposed to a Rastafarian, a worldly, and a Muslim, a Sikh, or a Sikhin, or whatever. Secondly, because you wear this label, people, in addition to having an expectation about who you are based on your manufacturer, they have an expectation of how you're going to behave. And they pull this expectation not from the Bible, they pull this expectation from the group of people who behave in this particular way. And that's important. It's important for two things. And if I remember my thought, I'll come back to it and underscore the importance of this. But remember this, they pull their expectation of you from the group of people that wear the label. Just as in the real world where people can put fake labels on their vehicles, don't go there, preacher, that's what Pastor Ote would say. People can fake label themselves Christians. Fake label themselves. Now, the reason why people counterfeit things is because they expect to benefit from the reputation of the thing that they're counterfeiting. They expect to benefit from it. So when the Chinese, I'm sorry to use them, it's no knock against the Chinese. So when they fake Rolexes, and they fake Apple products, they want to sell you these things based on the fact that you have an expectation about the brand. And they expect to benefit monetarily from the fact that you're fooled. Exactly. So when you wear a fake label, it is because you expect to benefit from the fact that there are, in fact, true Christians. And that says something about Christians, real Christians. It says that real Christians are held in high esteem. Because if there was no value, then why do people copy you? Hypocrites prove that Christianity is worthwhile. Because otherwise, why would I? If there's no benefit to be gained from pretending to be a Christian, then why would I? So there's clearly a benefit to be gained from pretending. The question is, are we truly the people of God, or are we pretending? Have we come to Christianity based on our society's pull? Like in Jamaica, it's such a good thing to be a Christian that even people who aren't Christians wish they were Christians and look with envy at Christians. Oh boy, I can't be a Christian because it's too hard, because I have to be moral and all of this stuff, and I can't be moral. That's in Jamaica, high esteem. So lots of people become Christians in Jamaica because it's really a good thing to be. Not so much in Canada. But we should change that. It is our mission, should we accept it, to change the perspective of Christianity in Canada. Who's up for the challenge? So, when Christianity just started, remember I said the manufacturer makes it and then people develop an expectation based on the experience that they have with the particular items. When Jesus died and we had the first Christians, they didn't go around calling themselves Christians. They went around calling themselves various things, followers of the way, the brethren, and so on. A testament to the quality of the product that they put out was the fact that it was other people that called them Christians. They didn't get called Christians until they reached Antioch in Acts 11, almost at the end of the book, well, halfway, before they were called Christians. And now you find that in Acts 11:26. And this is instructive, I think. In fact, we have a letter from a person called Pliny the Younger. He was the nephew of Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder was a historian, so was Pliny the Younger. Pliny the Elder was a statesman. Pliny the Younger was also a statesman. Pliny the Elder died at the eruption of Vesuvius. Pliny the Younger was smart enough not to be there. So Pliny the Younger was dispatched to a place called Bithynia in September 111, as opposed to September 9/11. He was selected for various characteristics. But the important thing is, he was called to conduct a legal investigation into people who were called Christians. And you know what the accusation was against these people? These are serious allegations, which caused them to be brought into court. It was alleged that they met on a certain day before light and prayed. It was alleged that they banded together to do good for the day. It was alleged that they would not swear allegiance to anybody but Christ. It was alleged that they would not change their opinion for anybody. Serious, serious accusations. This is something that people can say about us. That we band together to do good. That we join hands together to go and make change in the world. That's exactly what we're all about. Or do people just say we come to church and roll on the ground and have a good time and we're not so bright? Is this something that people can say about us, that under pressure we stand for our principles and our truths? When they say you have to be gay friendly, you say, well, I don't have to because I don't have to. And I will not if you're going to force me to take a particular position. Are we that people that are going to take a stand for God? That sounds so much better. That are going to take a stand for God regardless of what the situation is? Are we that people that when our backs are against the wall, that we're going to continue to say, this is what I believe in Christ and I will not change? Are we that people? Are we that people that's going to take that label into our schools, into our workplaces, wherever we are, and represent Christ. Represent Christ in the way we're expected to represent Christ. Represent Christ in the way that the society expects us to be moral, reliable, truthful, dependable workers. Are we that people? Because this is what the label that we wear suggests that we should be. In Canada and somewhat around the world, Christianity has become somewhat of, the label itself has lost some of its luster. It's lost its luster because we have lots of examples of people who, while wearing the label, to quote a Trinidadian, have gotten on bad. I mean, the reputation of the group is not soiled by a few bad apples, but where it's widespread, then maybe there's a problem. And I'll come back to the point of the group. If we do not stand for what we are supposed to represent in terms of how we live, then the reputation of our manufacturer, who is God, is put into question. Because although there's a good product for people to purchase, or for people to buy into, because one, and let me kind of use language that would be specific to automobiles. One, there are lemons, meaning there are people who don't quite measure up to the expectation of that there is. And two, there are counterfeits. And so God calls us to be true people. Let's look at counterfeits for an example. I had a nice picture which I didn't give to my media people, so you'll have to imagine it. There is wheat, and there are tares. They look almost identical. Almost identical. In fact, when they're growing, they look exactly identical. So Jesus tells a story about a rich man who plants a vineyard, and then while he's sleeping, his enemy comes and puts tares among the wheat that he's planted. And at some point in time, people find that, the workers find that there are tares and there's wheat. When it comes to, so what the Lord of the harvest says, okay, let them grow together. So the judgment doesn't fall right away, because the master says, let them grow together. The calamity doesn't fall right away because the master says, let them grow together. The end doesn't fall right away because the master says, let them grow together. Think about it. If you're wearing the wrong label, you may get away with it today. If you are prophesying in the name of Christ and you're sleeping with the women up at night who are not your wives, which you should only have one, the judgment may not fall right away. If you're in your office stealing the boss's money and getting away with it, don't think it's validation, because the judgment may not fall right away. If you live at home in a completely different way than you live when you're in front of the bedroom, and you're surviving, oh look, there it is, and you're surviving, the judgment may not fall right away. But trust me, there's a judgment day coming. And God is going to separate the wheatness from the tareness, because God knows which ones are the wheats and which ones are the tares. You can pretend to be wheat all you want to, but the day of judgment is coming. And those in in the Spanish NIV, Jesus says, "Ay, hypocritas!" Something like that. And he speaks to the hypocrisy of the Pharisees, and he tells them about judgment. Judgment will come. And God will separate those who are his because he knows who are his, because they are sealed with the Holy Spirit. And everybody else is faking their own seals or have none at all. But a judgment is coming. The difference between the wheat and the tares, the difference between the real and the counterfeit, is that while they look the same from afar, they fail. The counterfeit will fail inspection when you get close up. When you get into it and somebody step on your toe, the real will say one thing, the counterfeit will say something that you don't expect to come from the real. When your financial enterprises fail, because, remember the story of Job, where Job says to God, "Why are you looking at me so closely? Why? Why?" So sometimes it feels that the pressure is on. Where the real will survive, the counterfeit is not going to. Trouble in a marriage, as all marriages have trouble, I'm told. The real is going to respond a certain way. They're going to get it together, go back to God in prayer, come back together. The counterfeit is going to say, "Lord, why you hurt me? I'm gone. I can't take it no more. I'm gone." Oh, sorry. I'm leaving. It's a no-fault divorce. I fell out of love. The real will stick to it because that's what God called them to. You can tell the real Christian because everyone that is names the name of God.
Now you have the power to contain everything that the Word of God says because Christ already did it. Believe in him, trust in him, seek him, and plug into him, and you will see your life turn around. We encourage you to join us on a Sunday morning so you can worship with us, grow with us, be strengthened with us at Solid Rock Christian Assembly. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, visit our website and our YouTube channel. We'll see you again at The Rock.
Solid